Yo, how is everybody today? I don't have this ODYS thing to point at up over here.
Yeah, go to odys.digital to get all of your aged domains.
Dude,
this is a takeover, isn't it?
It is. You've been having fun with payment processors this week, huh?
Yeah, and I've realized with the one that we found, when you go to ClickFunnels, the installation page, I was going to tell you, but I've got to just like focus after this. You need something else in addition to that, which it isn't expensive, but you know, the whiny people that we're working with that are he's probably watching. I don't want him to complain about it too much. So, exactly. But yeah, we'll get it. Yeah. I mean, that funnel's going to be solid though. So ecom, everyone, we're going to have some fun.
Speaking of ecom, actually they're testing seller ratings in the organic SERPs in Google right now. It's actually kind of interesting. They're throwing them on home pages. So they're throwing the seller rating of the store on the homepage in the SERPs.
Yeah. And what happened with Craig is I sent him a video of me training, and he said, "Fuck, I got to get back in the gym." So he just skipped the show today so he could have a hope and a prayer when September comes. So he's not here to talk crap, so I can talk all I want.
He's a little scared, is what it is.
He should be.
And I think that it's going to be a problem for him when it comes to September. He's not here to defend himself, dude. It's kind of nice.
That's it. The best people to pick on are the indefensible. So
that's very true. That's
I'm sure he'll watch this later and be like, "You fookers."
Right? No doubt. All right. So
hey, anyone watching though, post up, load up your SEO questions, whatever you want to. It doesn't necessarily have to be SEO. It can be anything cash flow related. I primarily stick to online stuff, so let's keep it to that. But yeah, SEO is our forte somewhat. So that's what everyone thinks is our forte.
I got questions. Okay, the first one actually is, how do you convert information intent search to a sale, dude? I think this is a good one for you. I know we deal with this a lot in our campaigns. It's bringing you info.
We deal with it a lot in ecom. I mean, and rehab, to be honest. But one of the best rehab articles as far as calls actually coming in from that specific page has been it was like the effects of alcohol abuse over time or whatever. So you get informational people, and then you've just got to throw the offer out there, in my opinion. So the offer on a PPL type campaign, which predominantly would be rehab in this case, you just got to say, "Hey, do your loved one need help? Call us. We're here for you." You've got a nice banner, post that like a few different times throughout the article. If it's ecom, then I would like to direct them to either a salesy article where all we're doing is hammering the benefits of the particular product, or to the product page. Get 10% off your first purchase here. You've got to have the pop-ups and stuff like that. For you always want to capture the list either on a pixel, which is Mike's favorite word, or on an email list. I would prefer an email list if you can get it, but of course, at the very least, if you hit the page, you're going to have them on the pixel.
Yeah, it's all about capturing, and especially as cookies are becoming a bad thing, and privacy is all important. First-party data on behavior, first-party data on usage is super freaking important. If you're doing networks, PBNs, anything like this, making sure you understand exactly where that user is in their freaking journey. You're 3 times more likely to convert a user if you get them in the beginning stages, the first search for the customer journey. Essentially, you absolutely want to capture them as early as possible, and that's why we've always liked mini nets and these kind of things, because not only are you building links when you build your PBN correctly, you are generating a list, whether it's through a pixel or email cap like Brad's talking about.
And from a mini net perspective, since you mentioned it, I think one of the best ways to drive people over there is to have the sidebar. You have all your qualifications or badges on the sidebar. Also, for linking from a mini net, and I'm thinking rehab just because that's where we've spent the most time, is our preferred facilities, our preferred facility networks. and you have that, and then it's a trust thing. So they see that this third party, website is sending someone over to this. So it increases the level of trust as well. What up, Mario?
What's up, Mario, dude? How you been? Hope business is good, brother. Michael.
Always is with Mario.
Google guaranteed and Google screened any impact on SEO. I think that everything has an impact on SEO personally.
Yeah, they would. I mean, it's more ads that you have to compete with, more eyeballs that you have to compete with. But that being said, in our industries that the Google guarantee is prevalent, we're still generating leads every single week, month, day, whatever. So,
and from the other angle as well, if you're in those programs, they're bringing traffic, they're bringing usage, they're bringing reviews, they're bringing trust through a credit card. I mean, like they're definitely impacting like that recognition of that business that you have there.
If we had a ton of local clients and they're in a niche that allows for the Google guarantee program, then that's the first thing I'm telling them to get in, because it will generate leads. You're essentially buying leads from Google, and then as a result, you're giving Google money, and you receive preference over that. So yeah, I would get them in the Google guarantee and tell them, put this amount of budget towards that. I'll manage it for you as long as you keep the SEO going, which is where you're making your margin, and this will actually help, and it'll help you get leads in the short term while the SEO is gearing up. So I like the Google guarantee, especially for client work.
Do domains value retain if you buy expired or dropped domains? So this is
you would have to specify what you mean by value.
So they're talking about the ranking value essentially, and so yes, expired domains retain this stuff, but there have been changes over the last year to the best practices and how to maintain all of that. I know a lot of people have been complaining about like losing ranking on some of this stuff in some of the latest updates, and what's been going on in a lot of this is that we're seeing anchor text change, requirements change on the homepage to like heavy branded type stuff. And if you really look into what they're doing and what's going on, that's directly looking at how they recognize your entity essentially. And if you are changing the topic of a website and the backlinks are no longer relevant, like you're off topic. If you are changing it potentially now for the last few quarters, you might be potentially skewing the way they recognize that entity. If a few images can go skew an entity's recognition in a topic, then there's a lot you can do by changing the structure and content of your website that might make an expired domain less effective because of the history and knowledge that they have on that expired domain, right?
Best thing to do is get one in your niche like we show and have it rebuilt.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that just because the content or the topic might need to stay the same doesn't mean that you can't utilize that in an interesting way. Basically,
talk about pet posters versus cat posters.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. It's like if you have a poster, you restore a poster website, right? And you want to build links for some pet insurance, or you want to build links for cat freaking dresses or some shit like Brad plays with. Then
I wear
you
them,
might
yes.
be taking that site that's on posters and creating some sections for animals if it's about pet insurance, about pets, and you might take it and create some stuff about cats to make it relevant to that, and build the link from that page.
I would suggest not building the one piece of content though. How many pieces of content would you, at a bare minimum, build just around that and support it?
I'm always going to anywhere from 3 to 5, usually 5 when it comes to support.
Yeah.
4 and 5. And
flesh out that category.
Yeah, exactly. No, flesh it out and essentially build out the cluster, build out the support, build out the tier structure, whatever the hell you want to call it on in your link profile. Like your second tier of your internal links essentially is what you want to take a look at there and make sure that you're building that there. If you can push traffic there more, it's more beneficial, mo better, whatever the hell. So in identifying primary keywords for individual pages on your website. So what do you think that going out, let's take this from a, first from a client standpoint. You get a site that's got age, you get a site that's got history, it's got content, and you're trying to identify primary keywords to restructure.
You're just getting that one primary keyword that I'm going to plug into Cognitive, or do I just
like say the topic, like the top level for that say for that style of the category.
I would probably plug that specific page into Search Console and see what it's popping for already, and go based on volume from there. If not, it comes to, what I mean, most of us can look at a page and see what they were actually, trying to optimize for. I might plug it into Ahrefs and see what it's popping for already, what's pulling the most / highest search volume terms, and then build it around that.
So also, let's talk about tools, because the guy did ask about Moz Pro and SEMrush. And I know for me, I'm always going to go over to SEMrush over Moz for identification of shit. As my initial start, like I'm not going to stop it at the keyword pool or the keyword magic tool there, because the stuff has to be grouped at that point. But for the initial start, I'm going to go over and start over there. And potentially, like when you mentioned the Google Search Console stuff, that's when I really do like that, because if you go in there and you start looking at queries and you look at the top level impression queries and you start to see any sort of intent cannibalization where there's multiple pages delivering impressions or whatnot, that's when you can start to look at that and see, okay, I've got an opportunity to shift this into something that's a nice cluster. The pages already have traffic, the pages already have somewhat topic, and now is when you can start breaking the main topic apart into different excluded pages where you're not including one type of information on the page, you're putting it on the other page and shifting the relevance of one of the cannibalized pages to a new query. And that's one of the ways I like to find those little freaking quick wins and stuff on sites. So
tool-wise, trying to find an example. Someone asked for an example for the rehab stuff. No, I mean, someone asked for an example for the rehab stuff. I'll be looking for that if you want to.
That's the one that you showed on they asked about it. The one that we showed on
Northbound is what I'm going to check.
Yeah. Let's see. Google stop running ads related to credit, but big players still manage to Reddit credit ads. How would you get around that? So like in our space, like that when they did this, you needed to go out and you needed to get pretty much the same certification as a pharmacy. So I am not running paid and credit. If everyone out there knows the answer, there might be some sort of certification. There might be some sort of thing like Legit Script or something that you might need to run for credit ads, but it's not my expertise at all.
Dude, Northbound's GMB is all jacked up. I'm not even going to go into that though. It's funny. Let's see.
If anyone out there knows for Joseph about the credit ads, if there's any sort of cert that is actually working right now, or if you have confirmation that it's just fucking money, that'd be nice too.
If you just Google, just do a site search for northboundtreatment.com and look at their blog. They do an okay job of it. Again, we haven't worked with this client in probably 2-3 years at least, right, Mike? So they've changed a lot of stuff that they didn't know that we had put into place after we left. And of course, I'm not going to go back and tell them. But I mean, with PPL, you're going to have the number up there. They've got the shit in the sidebar, but just go for freaking 21 withdrawal symptoms of opiate abuse. That's going to be fucking someone that is hooked on opiates, more than likely, or knows someone that's hooked on opiates. Researching that. So,
I was looking at a domain. I was looking at a domain yesterday. I've been pouring through data for the last few weeks, especially on like the system over at like NFG Secret, that system. I'm pouring through sites that are like actually doing that organic thing where they're hitting informational intent and purchase intent on the same domain. And there's if you take a look at, I'm gonna see if I can share this screen. So let's see. I think that'll work. And if we take a look at, I'm not going to show anything that's smaller, but I will show All right, there we go. That's a good example. And if I can share a screen, we might get this working. Dun, dun, dun. Where are you, Chrome? There we go. I did it, I think. We got that screen?
Yeah, I see it. MacBook Pro.
So, all right, I got to spell that right. I'm not a spelling scientist, guys.
You're not a MacBook guy either.
No, I'm not a MacBook guy either, so I just don't mind sharing the queries. So I was looking at a small e-commerce store with local intent all over it that is just murdering it to the point of taking 5 slots on page 1 for their top level queries. And so like this cannibalization thing, I think is an important topic because I don't think people understand it correctly. Cannibalization really does come from, in my opinion, like intent rather than topic. And so if you are looking at local intent versus an e-commerce, like a commercial intent versus an informational intent, you start to see things like this here, where we've got apple.com in here a couple times in the same query. And I know people like to say, oh, it's because it's a product and they're the brand, and that's not the freaking case. If you do your marketing properly here and you do your optimization and you build your actual intent clusters like properly, you can start to go and pull queries like this for local and like e-com at the same time. So
you've been shopping for some Air Jordans?
I am, dude. No, I actually been digging through a couple things since June, whatever day that was, because I started to see a shift. I started to see like 4 or 5 results on here per site, but like this one they've restructured again. It looks like, and so essentially. That needs to be closed. Shit. The intent-based thing, the cannibalization thing, I think is important to understand that it comes from how you structure the information on the page, right? So the one that I'm talking about that I was looking at just yesterday, they have 3 locations and they sell online. They ship nationwide and they have 3 locations. And if you're in those locations or anywhere within those radius that they actually operate, you will get there returning organically and in GMB for the queries that they're targeting, and you will have the information. You will have the e-commerce pages in those same queries, and they are missing out actually on an informational intent query that they could optimize for as well. So if you really do take a look at intent and pay attention to what people are doing, like that Mac example is a good example. Like you have the top level page that describes the information about the marketing information about that. Then there are queries like from them and others where you can find like the specs as their own URL, and people will be ranking like the information on the product for the purchase page and then the spec page separately, right? So like as you start to look at these intents, you can start to go up through, you can start to pull more slots in your SERPs. And, if you go into the network type stuff, then you can start to pull more slots for your queries, dude. So understanding that intent with your websites and your networks and your PBNs is not a bad way to go either. Your link building should be conducted just like your on page. I mean, realistically, like if you understand how to build a content group on your website, then you understand how to build a proper tier 1 backlink. And that's the way all of this should flow, whether it's link building or networks. This is what they were asking for, I think. I wonder what they'll win. A kiss. It could always be a
virtual kiss.
Yeah. It always can be a kiss from Brad. Brad gives great kisses.
They're a little sloppy, but.
So there was a question that came through: is Google AMP still worth the trouble?
I never got into it, to be honest. Well, I can't say yes or no, but I never dealt with it.
Interestingly, I was like Marco and I went to Marco right when they announced it, and we wrote a plugin for WordPress to replace just to push out there so that it was getting put into the system for like some lead cap. But they with the page experience update, and the removal of requirements and SGX, I believe, like signed signature exchanges that they haven't really talked about in public, but the page experience update is actually looking at that technology. It kind of makes AMP obsolete in my opinion. So to me, is AMP still worth the trouble? I don't think so. Not at all.
I wouldn't waste time on it, but I mean, if people have a use for it and it's beneficial for them, then go for it. But I'm not digging into it.
Here's the thing. Transparency with Google is cool. If you want to push, the problem with AMP is that there's a lot of lack of control and shit like that. With some of the stuff that they're doing with signed signature exchange with the page experience update, they're getting that pre-cached shit. They're getting that information early anyways. So I would suggest going over and taking a look at what they're doing with signed signature exchanges. And on the webmaster blog, yeah, let me see. They have an explanation and they have some examples of I think it's, I always fuck this up, signed signature exchanges, I think is what it is, but I could be putting my fucking foot in my mouth right now. Yeah, yeah, there we go. On developers, they have some information too. Just you can find on the blog as well that they are utilizing this stuff for, or they're starting. They kind of rolled it out for with the page experience updates. So that talks about like the signed signature exchange, what it is, and if you want to learn a little more, I think there's a Tokyo domain that they have as a case study that was using it and talking about their increases and yada yada yada. So just if you go over to their blog, you'll find it. How would you approach Google News, particular sports in USA? I honestly would just create a website, like I always create a website, and then start pulling Google News traffic. It's not a big deal. Publisher Center. There are ways, like Holly does do shit, that she has a process that works really well. If you have questions, I would say go check out what Holly's doing. I do it.
Yeah, otherwise, I haven't heard of too many people getting rejected though. If they haven't,
well, because there's no more requirements. There's no more real tech requirements. They remove most of the requirements. Google News is a great source of traffic. I know people are like talking about it for link building right now. It's neither here nor there. It's just kind of a spin, like a Google News site versus a regular site. I mean, I've got regular sites that are in Google News that I've never looked at putting into Google News. Like, they're just sites with traffic, right? So they're quality if they're quality, they're not if they're not. And I would look at how to monetize the sites that you put in there before anything else, and understand how to monetize and capitalize on the transfer, on the traffic that you have there, is what I would do. So ArtGuard says, if you were to build a new e-com site for a store with made-to-order hardware products, how would you do it, Brad?
It's a wide
question, dude. Where do you start?
I would first find a solution that offers made to order. Can you do that with Shopify? I'm not sure, but you would have to have a solid tech solution for that. You need to find the payment processor and make sure that that connects to your site or your hardware builder customized cart. Go through that. A third party might be best to go through all the way. Find someone that does everything like that. And then without knowing the keywords and, the breadth of that, you would need to start to get traffic from it. And if you're going SEO, then hopefully there's keyword volume in that particular niche. So
yeah, for an e-com store with made to order products, honestly, like I talked to someone about this yesterday. I'm going to sound like a dirty little traditional marketer, but I would start with the freaking buyer persona and a freaking customer journey and really understand where the wins are. Like when you do your keyword research, like your initial
deep keyword research properly,
it's a huge deal. Like, and then when you take that keyword research and you remove shit like the branded queries and certain queries that you shouldn't have in, and you drop it into a solid like clusterizer, like freaking Keyword Cupid, you literally can come out with content and groupings that will make you win fucking quick. And when people talk about not using links for ranking, I think this is most of what they're talking about is like is proper keyword research and content creation and page structuring, like 100% of the time. That's what does it. not that you really can rank without links. There's always a link in there when someone says there isn't. But it's definitely where I would start. I would start by determining how I'm going to build my categories and my content that supports those categories, where I'm targeting certain intent. The platform you're on is going to make a huge freaking difference on what you do. Like with the tech stuff, personally, I don't like Shopify at all. I would prefer, if someone's going to go with a canned solution, that they go over with BigCommerce and Headless. Personally, I think that it gives you a lot more control. I don't know a lot about
Shopify is just a quick and easy solution for a lot of people. So I feel like that's why it gets pushed more than others.
It's interesting because I think September, I'm going to ask Ted to talk a little. I wonder if I can get him to talk about some e-commerce stuff, because that dude's
I bet you can.
Man. And, some of the stuff that we've done and some of the stuff we've discussed building, he does in a way that he kind of opened my eyes to something that I had not seen, which is really cool, that I think I'd like to have him come out and talk about in September. And when you really take the mini-net concept and you take like a headless CMS or a headless e-commerce solution like the Shopify API, you have
BigCommerce or Shopify?
Commerce, I mean, sorry, my bad. BigCommerce. So when you take that BigCommerce, like any sort of headless cart, and you have multiple domains, and you take the clustered concept, you take the mini net concept, and you build those stores in a way that is what Google wants to see, you start to have a situation where you're doing a lot of volume, and it does a lot for ranking in multiple locations. So I do believe Shopify Plus is headless now. They have like a headless solution. So I'm not saying don't go Shopify. It's just not something I like. So that's a personal decision based on experience. So the next question is, that's not the right question. This one, from WordPress to Squarespace with the same content, how do I keep the SEO rank untouched?
Why would you move from WordPress to Squarespace?
I don't know. Actually, I'm interested in why someone would do that as well, to be honest. I would never put someone on Squarespace.
Usually it's the other way around.
It's kind of interesting. I'm wondering if it's a situation, let me see if I can, where'd that go? Hey everyone, I'm a newbie and I'm supposed to build a new website. The client already has their website they are unsatisfied with, but it was built with WordPress and Elementor. I explained to them that I work with Squarespace, but they want me to do it anyway. Now the issue is that they want the exact same content on the new website, but isn't it going to mess with the SEO rank? Or am I wrong? If so, could you give advice?
Tell them to stop doing SEO, probably.
That would be my answer, to be honest, is stay on WordPress. But really, the answer is a one-to-one redirect. I mean, it's a pretty simple answer for somebody that's been doing SEO for a few weeks. But that's design. And honestly, that's a good point. When you're working with clients and they have developers, like kind of think of them like that question right there. I'm sure everyone in that audience said that's a 301. That's a this or that. That's what some developers are like working with, to be honest. Not that they're.
It might be tough to. I don't know if Squarespace offers a proper 301 solution. Like if I was going the other way around, I would easily be able to do it with the plugin. But I don't know.
Well, from WordPress to Squarespace, that's an actually good question, because I honestly might move them at that point, depending on what the features are. But we'll find it real quick and give the answer. So they do have it, and the way that they do it is through. You can only redirect from built-in and custom domains connected to your Squarespace site. And in the home page, in the home menu, click Settings and click Advanced. Click URL mappings, click the text field and add your redirects, and then click Save. So same feature. It's basically a plugin.
Then 301.
That's how to do it on Squarespace.
And then hope that the Squarespace site can rank. We had a a question from the warrior up above about duplicate content on location pages. If you want to grab that, 12:09 my time.
12:09. That was early, huh?
Yeah, I just want to make sure we get to everyone's. Yeah, Soursop warrior. Yeah, as far as content for location pages, I honestly have a ton of duplicate content. If it's just a lander with a GMB, especially, then I don't care as much about it. I make sure I switch out of course, typically have a different phone number with the specific area code. I'll switch out all the zips and surrounding areas on that specific lander. Of course, switch out the primary city that I'm targeting, but everything else, for the most part, can stay the same. Maybe switch out a few images, make them relevant to that specific city. But aside from that, the primary block of text can be the same from my experience. Just look at Kyle's case study a few years ago. I mean, he ranked with Lorem Ipsum, and all he did was took Lorem Ipsum, put it on there, and then put his keyword as many times as he needed it on the page, and that's all he had. So that was complete dupe.
There's also another way to look at it too, from a content perspective, because I do look at things from like a topical group type of an entity perspective. And if you establish the relationship for the location, say in the footer, and you have some information that's related to the location in your footer that's site-wide, and you establish that, then you can potentially utilize like content grouping for information intent to kind of pull in and just build those queries like that. With the caveat of, when we do anything like this, like a local and organic or lorganic, like we just jokingly call it, there's going to be GMB association with the business as well. So that's strengthening the entity for the location too.
That's where I would focus for this situation, is GMB, if you can get it, especially for web design. So get that.
So if you have web design, say you do your research and you've got web design for Squarespace, how to move Squarespace, how can a developer move Squarespace to WordPress or vice versa? You've established the location and address in the entity, and you've got the local content in the footer that is a footer block that's going across the site or whatnot. And then you're writing that in a part of a cluster, or however you call it, and you're going after those targets there. Sometimes target URLs will shift on you when you do stuff like that, but if you craft the off page as well, it will kind of funnel directly to the right pages in most cases. And some of the best examples of like quick winners I'm seeing right now, I've been looking at hundreds of sites that have been launched since the new update and right before the new update that are just like 20%. I saw one yesterday that's 20,000% increase in traffic and keyword volume. They're utilizing tactics like this, and I'm not dropping samples, I'm not dropping sites. We're building stuff, and I really would kind of look at it from, okay, how can I establish these relationships for these different things, these different entities? And if you think about it, a location is literally just a single entity. Do you really need to try to establish that on every single page of your website, or should you just establish that for the whole domain and business, and then target keywords that are profitable to the business? I mean, it's a methodology.
But for multi-location, all I do is switch out the geo.
Yes. I mean, yeah, we have ranking sites that literally are just templated content and a subdomain or a subdirectory or the whole domain, and it just switches out by geo. And yes, it can be done. Absolutely. Yeah. It's not my preferred methodology, but it does work. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Craig, any hacks on the Google Guarantee program? I know what I thought I wanted to do.
I mean, if you really, really wanted it, you could create a few DBAs.
That's what become the other saying, 2 or 3 people. Incorporation.
Yeah, it's either that or just wait it out. Unfortunately, it's just it's like they released it, I think, in real estate, and my wife was working with a real estate agent at the time, and I was like, you got to get on the Google Guarantee as soon as they open it up in Greensboro. I still don't think that they have it in Greensboro. So
legitimately go out and find 3 other people in the market that that you can get in. I mean, honestly, like, it depends on how dirty you want to get with it. Because realistically, I mean, I remember sitting there with people and just forming LLCs to get through different approvals.
Yeah, it's either that, wait it out, or like you sparked something. Go to a few different people and offer them the service. Say, hey, look, Google Guarantee is launching in your area. All they need are like 3 or 4 people. I'm going to help all of you get the leads that you deserve. You're all going to show up.
I can see your funnel now, bro. Actually,
yeah.
I'm visualizing your funnel in my head for that right now, and like seriously, like doing that and having a page that literally talks about Google's moving the guarantee program into some shitty ass town in the UK where Craig Mullins lives.
Is he UK? Yeah.
And
coming to a shitty town near you. Google Guarantee.
And they are they're accepting 5 freaking test accounts or whatever, and you could craft that and you could engineer that if you wanted to, and that's probably the way I would go.
That's the whitest hat aside from waiting. Yeah, way to do it. So you got a few options. Joseph had a PPC question about when they removed like credit repair, credit stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Did you another one?
Joseph, it's right below Craig's. Joseph.
I think that's the one we talked about. Yeah, we already did.
Oh, did we talk about that?
Yeah, I mentioned Legit Script. I asked if anyone in the audience knew if there's anything, but I don't have info. If you have something, give it to them because I don't.
I'm just gonna say it's just like when T was doing it in substance abuse. You're just gonna have to get creative with it. To be honest, you're gonna have to test, see what you can get to push through, see what doesn't go through, and then expand from keep adding and taking away. Unfortunately, we do know what works, and I guess it used to until some more people figured it out. But when they switched from just regular AdWords to Legit Script with substance abuse, it was easy pickings there for a little bit. But I know you can figure it out.
So I would message you and send you what I would do in this case. But the guys that used to do it literally got prosecuted for interfering with the election.
We are not recommending going out and trying to fake everything. Just like a legal notice. Yeah, it is possible. People have done it, but we don't recommend it. So
a lot of ad networks require this type of thing. They'll require a selfie with a photo ID.
I always put on a bikini when they make me send that.
That's why I think that what Brad said with that funnel is probably the best way to go, Craig, is because if you can get a few other businesses, like, I don't know, I would dig into people that are running Guarantee, because there might be like tangent businesses or something that are not direct competitors that you can frame and engineer to get approved that aren't going to directly compete with some of the stuff you bid on, or you can be that dude, get people in there and just do it for you.
I'd honestly, not knowing the Craig's specific situation, I would like to take the easy money, because if I can write similar ads for all 3 people, upload, charge them every month, that's just easy.
But I think it might be his business, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So if it's his business, then it's a little bit more like.
But if he's getting the extra leads, he's getting them the extra leads, he's making money off the competition. I mean, depending on the environment in his what you call it, a shitty ass town in the UK, depending on the environment there, it might or might not make sense to do that. Otherwise, just wait and kill map rankings, kill organic rankings, and just take over the local space otherwise. So Mike's
which one? And where'd you go? I keep trying to find it, but I'm not. But here we go. There's one. Not Shopify. We're going with a custom WordPress for WooCommerce site. I mean, realistically, if you can process, then you can process. We usually end up dealing with like freaking high risk industries, and it turns into a pain in the ass.
There's tech that you have to bring together with ecom. So we like for the people that we work with in ecom to have their own tech people that know what they're doing. So
I might look into, depending on budget, ArcBard, I might look into like BigCommerce, the Headless, and WordPress, because running running that there like that, then you're going to be able to do some clever shit with your storefronts and your categories with a network. And if being able to run multiple storefronts out of a single database with API calls is a solid ass ability. So if you're going to use WordPress, I might look into using BigCommerce instead of WooCommerce. That's just my suggestion. I'm not sure it's right for your situation, but there's a good chance that it could be. Let's see.
How do you get GMB reviews for a PPL listing? Easiest way is to buy them. Find a trusted source. It's from what I hear, harder to get them pushed through recently. I can test some of that, but yeah, find a trusted vendor for them. If you have a shit ton of Google accounts and you're being careful about footprints and such, then you could maybe leave some reviews. But again, we're not, these are not recommendations. It's they're just options. We're not telling you to or not to do these.
So here's the thing. You hear about methods of people going out and creating citations and then Google picking this shit up. If you go out and you craft a site that you sit out there for a while and you have a plan in a market, the thing to understand about GMB, it becomes harder and easier as time and the tide ebbs. Ebbs and flows. If you have something out there that looks legit, that's sitting there, that's working organic, that's sitting in there aging, getting traffic from Google, when it becomes easier in your category to get a listing up, it's going to be easier to do that in that case, especially if you use some of the methods that we use. And anytime that you can build a story, like if you're doing some shady shit on your website and, take the hidden text behind an image example, like turn a logo into an H1, say it's for a screen reader. Anytime you can have something that shows that, hey, my story's real, like that's a good way to go. People don't typically go out and build a website that has content, spend money, build citations, build a local presence when they don't have a freaking local business, right? In theory, right? So having that story is a solid thing to do, whether or not you are grabbing that GMB right now. Nah, the next one was this one. This is rad. This is the best one.
Yes, you are.
I suspect I may have caught up in some PBN link building scheme. He suspects. He doesn't know. Over the past
I might not have built PBN links.
Over the past 2 months, I've received over 100 backlinks from 40 to 50 websites, ending with .blogspot.com. This month, I have noticed a 25% decline in my organic traffic and 15% decline in my keywords. I don't know whether this is because I have been penalized or what, but if I have, how can I nip this in the bud? Appreciate any guidance. So it's interesting. I want to read, this is a Reddit question.
Where are you pulling these from? I was going to say Reddit, yeah.
Check your rankings to see if they have changed. This is not me.
I can't go on Reddit. It's too distracting.
Check your rankings to see if, dude, this is a great source of info for keyword research. I'm just going to say that. Check your rankings to see if they have changed. There is a good chance PBN links are not being counted, but you're unlikely to be penalized for that right now. You can submit links you think are from a PBN to a disavow file. I actually like that answer because we have an update month and 25% is a pretty common drop for things not done right. So I think that's a really good freaking answer. And the next one is it's likely more to do with June core. I agree, honestly.
It could be that and the links honestly
are just discarded and not used.
Yeah, the worst that
especially at that low volume,
is
at that low volume. I don't think it's something to worry about, and I think that's somebody that needs to build their content better.
If they've got aggressive on page, then it's going. If they've got aggressive,
it's a shelf page. Do you know what a shelf page is, dude? This is cool.
Can you hear me?
We're going to talk about how a shelf page and a landing page work together because I've never heard of a fucking shelf page, and I'm interested.
Yo, can you hear me?
Go for gold and try to improve SERP positioning based on GA stacks or no, this is fucking nonsense, dude. Okay, so They sell a multi-range of projects. They try to capture a variety of keyword pages. I introduce landing pages on our site that give an overview of the various products we sell. Google ranks these pages over shelf pages. This page then leads into a shelf page where the products are all featured. And okay, it's a category. And customers can choose a specific product to begin the buying process. Have you ever heard that term, shelf page?
Mm-mm. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. This whole fucking time.
Can you hear me?
Yes. I know. Everyone else can hear me. Gone. Ask me a question. Jose, we do still sell leads in the niche. We have some clients, we don't really chase them. They just randomly come to us. But be careful on the offer vault stuff. Thank you. I've worked directly with sales lead guys, and they use those. They've specifically told me that they use those as a bait and switch a lot of the time, just to get you in the door, and then they'll give you what they want to give you. And again, the $500 is probably going to pay at least a 3-minute call, and you're gonna get really pissed off when they start hanging up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 calls a day at like 3:55 or 2:55, 5 seconds off, or 2:57. It will infuriate you beyond belief. What in the Verizon commercial is going on here? Yeah.
Verizon commercial is going on.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now, dude? I lost all audio from this freaking.
Yeah, I was talking. I was like, this motherfucker can't stop talking enough to listen to my comments, and then I'm like, oh wait, he can't hear me. So then everyone else is like, yeah, we can hear you. I was like, all right. I was like, can you hear me? And you're like, what's a shelf page? I'm like, I don't know.
It's a fucking category page, dude. I've never known that.
You see what the hell happens when Craig's not here to wrangle us in?
So basically, the answer to the shelf page thing is that the dude is writing content versus just having a list of fucking products, which those pages didn't have any sort of text on them, is what it comes down to. So shelf pages, your category pages should actually have content.
There's plugins in WordPress or wherever where you can add specific text to category pages. So I would at least use like Quillbot and throw up some content on those pages. Category pages actually rank quite well with not a ton of content. One text block a lot of times will do it.
They do, and honestly, with category pages, I typically just like to look at the market and see what that individual query is.
A lot of times Google will choose category pages because they know it's the most relevant search for the query.
Oh, fuck, that thing came back to haunt me.
Do TLDs matter?
Yes, that's the one that I was trying to pop up. But do TLDs matter for SEO?
I think so. As far as indexation and everything, you're better off going with a top-level.com net or org. As far as indexation is always my biggest concern. So
mine has always been type-in traffic, like direct traffic, and linking has really always been like one of my huge reasons for not liking other TLDs.
A .digital will piss you off in Facebook because they will not accept it. Like if you try and create a Facebook page for a .digital, from my experience, or no, .design is what I was having trouble with. I ended up having to go grab the .info, redirect that, and then throw that into Facebook because it wouldn't fucking take it. So you don't run into those issues with .com.net.org if you're in the UK.co.uk, shit like that.
It's important to like take in like into context too, because there's like shit that's been written like in the past. Like there's been people that have patented and written papers on things like recognizing spam by the hyphens in a subdomain, and that's not really hard to say. This percentage of fucking .xyz sites or .info sites tend to be spam, and spam sites tend to have these factors. And Mueller came out and straight up did say that they will like just ignore pages based on similar URL structure and similar content. So if you have like multiple flags like this and you're building on domains and TLDs that are lower quality TLDs, cheaper, those can be profiled into a spam category, in like especially by the manual team. But they do have algorithmic ways of saying, okay, there's a percentage chance that this site is spam, and then they have other indicators to look at as well. And then you get into the situation where it's like discovered, not crawled, and they're never going to crawl your ass again, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, we figured out what was it? .xyz's index like a mofo for what 3, 4, 5 months, something like that.
yeah,
so
it
we
was
built the
nuts when
piss
they
out
did
of them.
that.
Yeah, then it would move to .onlines, and then it would be crazy because we tested all the time. You'd have like 4 or 5 different TLDs that were TLDs that were like random, like the cheapies, and you're like, okay, all these .onlines index like 100% nearly. We're gonna go with these and until they stop, and then we're gonna switch out to another TLD, and it's just plug and chug at that point when we were doing a bunch of mass page. So
yeah, no, it was actually nuts with what they were doing there. And dude, I almost muted myself, and it would have broken everything forever
Good.
again. Dory pages, Panda location pages. It's Google bullshitting everyone. Google doesn't bullshit. They bullshit all the time. But like when they talk about this, so let's define doorway pages. And doorway pages we'll define as they exist only to rank well for particular keyword phrases in search engine result pages, and they provide little value to the searcher. This is usually an attempt by a webmaster to create a large footprint in search engines, offering up more doorways into their website, but to usually the same or similar destinations. So
if someone built a local plumber page that just on the surface can be considered a doorway page, but the end user finds it in the SERPs, clicks on it, it's exactly what they need. Maybe it's like emergency plumber burst pipes. I've got shit all over my kitchen.com. And they go to that. They're like, this is exactly what I need. They call them. They get to a tech, wherever you're routing those calls. They get to a tech. The tech comes out, fixes the fact that there's poop all over their kitchen. Don't ask me how poop got in the kitchen. But they've got 100% satisfied customer. The call converted from every standpoint. Is it spam or a doorway page at that point then?
Yeah, it comes down to like the kind of stuff we were just talking about. And also it's important to realize that Google is absolutely looking at site profiles and user profiles and the metrics on those sites and the metrics from those users, right? So they use the Chrome user experience report to collect field data they collect a ton of data. Okay, we'll just say that. So the core web vitals is an indicator of what they're looking at, like with first input delay. But if they see a website that has similar URLs to a known spam website, say you're building with an e-plugin, I'm not going to name a plugin, but any of the WordPress plugins or mass site builders, and everyone's using the same URL structure, the plugins creating the same URL structure, and everyone's using, like a majority are using the default template, they can footprint that really easily, and they can check your tech as well, because like when you go into the Chrome browser and you look at the network transfer, like what do you see in the Chrome browser? Do you think Google doesn't see that? Like they know what's going on, they know what's being called, they see all this stuff. If they footprint you and associate you in a category with other sites like that, then yes, your doorway pages can start to just not have any effect and not be indexed, right? If you do this in a way that is smart, you do it in a way that works, where you're actually paying attention to like semantics, and you're building like salient topics on your pages and shit. We talked about the local page with the local entity and then the individual content. Realistically, every piece of content I write is a doorway page. Like straight up, I don't give a shit about what the user receives from my page. I just know the user needs to get something and the content needs to be formatted a specific way to pull the traffic. So I would argue that doorway pages absolutely work. The one thing that I would pay attention to is like pagination and stuff on those types of sites. One thing I think people don't think about in spam sites is that, like in e-commerce, you see this a lot.
That'll
pagination.
kill your crawl budget. Yeah.
Well, yeah, people will actually like no index follow like a paginated category. Well, after a certain amount of time, a no index follow becomes a no follow. Like I have data, people have data. If you tell Google not to crawl down this paginated thing of posts, and they've decided to not go visit those posts anymore, and you have those pages that are now orphans, and I look for them in Search Console or like on crawl as like a page that's ranking with impressions, but no like internal link structure really going to it anymore that is actually crawlable or indexable. I would say indexable because it's crawlable still in that case. So once they do that and they decide to like, I'm dropping this off, then you'll start to see your site start to fucking tank because now you're losing your internal page rank, you're losing your theme. So you really need to like pay attention to how you actually link those. So if you do your doorways and you start building like links to your pages and things like this, you get out of that kind of trouble. Like, so I don't think they're bullshitting anyone. I think it just comes down to doing it right versus doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that live IRL fan actually meant to ask about a Vietnamese phone farm, but
that's what he meant. 4G proxies for his Vietnamese phone farm.
For his Vietnamese phone farm.
I would buy in bulk and try and negotiate with anything.
There's
what try and do to reduce cost.
There's providers that will give you pools like off of a single device and shit. If that's all you want, thousands of IPs for 100, 200 something a month. Start looking for those rotators is what I might do. It depends what you're doing. Honestly, if you're doing what I think you are, which is click botting, I'm just going to tell you to go do it with real traffic anyways, because I just don't like the hassle, but it works. I mean, like the CTR booster shit, that stuff from what I've seen lately, I don't do it anymore. I just I don't like dealing with proxies. I don't like dealing with bots. I'd rather just funnel in traffic that's real and let it do its thing. But I would say go to a couple private people. And if you hit us up on Skype, dude, I'll get you connected to a guy. He does a really good job. He does hardware he does like residentials and then 4 and 5G hardware too throughout the US if you need something.
Mario brought up that Yelp essentially ranks nothing but category pages all the time, so it's doable.
Let me see something. I wanted to see on this, I forget. Yeah, so here's the thing, like, Yelp is doing that, but Yelp is also a loser in June core. So they are definitely still ranking, but they are definitely one of the groups that got hit and went down, like Quora and things like that. So I have theories on why certain things got hit like that. Dude, that's like, I'm like trying to, where am I? So
you know how I feel.
I don't like pure directory sites. It's not my thing. Not saying you can't do it. I'm not going to put the time in to build a brand like that though. So I don't know if I'm going to do that at all ever.
I mean, if you have a huge network, 1 or 2 directory sites makes sense.
Oh no, I'll throw them into a network, but as a top level focus, no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
I will say that I would like to build real content blocks on those directories. So like using like programmable web to find an API that's topical to like the directory you're doing and pull facts into the page and make it a little bit more useful than just a list of listings would be the way to go in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then I still get back into like, then just scrape some content on topics, throw them in there, double spun and run that too. So this Omega, what do you think about Omega Indexer? Our indexing services just scans. It's been 8 months since submitted disavow file to GSC. No results yet.
Indexing, I mean, the level of indexing that Google allows at any particular time fluctuates, pretty wildly. So I would not get my hopes up on any indexers. Submit it through Search Console and hope for the best.
So my whole theory my whole theory on this is like you shouldn't need one, and you have multiple
you're doing
ways.
Content and linking from halfway decent links, then you'll get indexed.
Well, yeah, it's either quality, like when I say quality, I mean like what works, which is something that's already getting crawled, but also if you're spamming, I think you should have a big enough list that you're actually moving your tiers by yourself without having to index it. That's my opinion. That said, a lot of the way people index is built into a lot of the way that I have spammed in the past, and that I have friends that spam anyway. So yes, I know Omega Indexer has absolutely worked when I've tested it and when I've used it on campaigns. Like, there's no question it's worked.
If you're not seeing results from a particular solution, though, you probably need to move on, and it's maybe not working for you in your case, like he's experiencing.
Yeah, it really depends on if you're throwing the wall at it. Like, if you're concerned, throw some quality links at something and see if it indexes. If it doesn't, then they're keeping it out, dude.
Yeah. One last from Jose. Have you done SEO for digital? Yeah, it's the same as anything else. You just need to find supporting topics and build
We're
around.
We're kind of doing it right now.
Yeah. So.
But yeah. Any specific questions, Joe? Here's my thing, man. Like, you can look at what Craig's done over the last year and a couple months. He's kicked ass right there, right? And he's worked his fucking ass off and spent money to build that brand, dude.
He dropped everything, essentially. Well, he put it on his team, but yeah, he dropped everything.
I mean, he did. No, dude, the dude murdered it, dude. Like, the dude is now, like, he murdered this. Like I'm going to say he murdered this. The other option is to have... The only other option, in my opinion, besides doing that, is to have, like, been around people for long enough to have people that have been a part of a community for a while and leverage that, dude. That's like the two things that I see as like possibilities myself.
Yeah.
The YouTube, my daughter does some YouTube and she gets people like following her and things like that, and it works. But for like a digital product and online course, it's definitely an art and science. And I will say Brad has I have seen like 80% conversion rates on products that are extremely expensive, like the days before Christmas and shit, because of the way the funnel is crafted. So I think Brad would recommend some books and shit on this, or some software too on this, most likely.
I mean, it's just general sales. It's sell or be sold. The Wolf's, any of the Wolf stuff, Wolf of Wall Street stuff, anything like that. It's just Jim Edwards has a book out about copywriting that helps, but it doesn't really cover the webinar stuff. The webinar course that Russell Brunson has is halfway decent. So if you're going to do that, you've got to get people into your webinar, fill that funnel that way, and then go there. And if it doesn't work, try something else until it does.
All right, I got to do this real quick. Question from live IRL fan. I've seen 4 or 5 different Vietnam phone farm providers, some using emulators only and others using actual phones. One site actually selling the phone farm software to set up with your own phones. All right, thank you, dude. We're going to answer that question another time, but I'm trying to play with something in there. All right, this one here.
All right, you got like everything posted. We'll cut it off. Yeah, EMD agency site, someone attacked spam, entire rankings dropped. Page 1, 6. Yeah, I mean, with an EMD, you're already pushing it on PageWise, so you're more susceptible to that type of thing, in my opinion, because it's already a red flag. So
that's an EMD agency site, and someone attacked it with spam. The entire rankings dropped from 1 to 6. The Google. I would like to have more info on that, dude. Like, what did they do with the spam? Were they targeting like off-topic anchor? Like, what did they point at you exactly? If you have a second, throw it in there, and we'll get back to that question about the EMD agency site before we jump off. And then essentially boosting recommended and suggested clicks for YouTube to test the video by sending the video in the recommended suggested feed of real viewers. Yeah. All right. Happened on a few sites, just drip fed the links with Omega, fixed it pretty fast. Submitted a couple times, ran it through the app. If you have access to the site in GSC, inspect the URL. And then I think, okay, off topic, porn and pharma. Dude, I would go in and start looking at any sort of imagery attacks that they might have done on you as well. Also, but also check the dates where the drop was. Like, there's been a lot of unnamed updates as well. And I'm assuming that you're mentioning this because this is large volume, because I only really start worrying about this at large ass volume. But I would check your dates, and I would check for dates like March 10th, all the updates that happened that they didn't name with core after December till June. The problem with CTR Booster and other bots is that they boost your search ranking, not recommended, suggested. Search is the worst place to get real viewers, as it is known for low retention. It's 100% true, dude. And if you, I don't know, there's a service, Claim Social Authority. They do some stuff. If you get kind of in with them and talk to some of the people that run that shit, there's some stuff they're doing that's really sick. So I might take a look at that. They have real viewer package shit, dude, like actual usage. Recommended, suggested, if you have a good video, will get you 70 to 100% retention. Yeah, so it's interesting, man, because like I look at this as like Google Discover too. And like if you look at the patents for both companies and shit, yeah, you know, dude, okay. Yeah, he's solid as shit, man. So yeah, they do a good job. I really like them, man. I really do like the dude. So the Discover, the suggested, like a lot of the patents that have come out over the last year or two for like the Google Assistant and Discover and different things that they're doing on YouTube for recommendations, that's where you want to be focusing. They are absolutely crafting specific like graphs for individual users. You want to be in those individual users like feeds, because the more you get them on your shit, the more they're scoring certain aspects of the different algorithms. Like YouTube's like freaking amazingly advanced when it comes to voice recognition and stuff. Like Google has patents there. They really should talk. There's shit that they're doing that's amazing. And so I think that you're spot on with how you want to do this, because that's what they're patenting. They're trying to train devices. They're trying to train users how to like interact with these properties 100%. So get into their suggested and recommended for sure.
Well, yeah, YouTube is not a search engine; it's a suggestion engine. So that's how you're going to get new traffic and views on that stuff. So
yeah, and honestly, Google's going the same direction. Like they're a curation engine. I don't like even consider them a search engine that much anymore. Yeah. So last one, 800 backlinks. They should not have more than 40. Also, there is one bit.ly link that is redirected to the site, which is bringing 90% of the spam. Reported it many times. No response from bit.ly. What I would do is look at your dates on when it dropped. Handle the backlinks, especially if they're taking you off topic. If you have an attorney, I would have them look at the terms of service at bit.ly and see if there's a way for them to craft this. If not, look for a network behind that at all. Hopefully no one's stupid enough to throw a network at you, but if it is, footprint that and find the host. But really look at the dates that you dropped and take a look at how you're on topic and intent for the queries that you're talking about. Because there's chances that it's just a couple things there personally. So, all right, I think that's it. Thank you all.
We'll be over. Yeah.
Oh wait, let's do this. Wait, one more time. Sign up and win.
Win everything.